When you come back,
maybe 2 hours?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
come on
Go to
then. Okay, 2.5, okay. Dropping out Atlanta, I'll be good for 5 minutes. I came from the mud. First put a hood on Jed. First put a hood on Molly. Just 1 right. Sup, street talk, street gods, street vlogs. Alright. Kim in the house. So some thoughts. Yeah, woke up, had some good coffee. Currently here in Saigon time. Time for Ho Chi Minh. It's like 3:30. Last night slept at around time did I sleep? Slept till like we had an early dinner. Got some good Japanese food at like 3:30, and then slept at around yeah, look, there's really a lot of people on the street. And then I slept at around 6:30. All right, look at everyone's awake already, or they're out still partying. All right, so woke up at midnight, actually around 11:30 p.m. I was like, oh man, gotta get some more sleeps. Got some more sleeps, and then woke up around 3:30. I'm like, all right, that's good enough. I'm like super awake, still jet lagged, and yeah, gonna do the rounds. So uncaged. What does it mean? Why does it matter, etc. So the first thought is, it don't really matter, like how good your cage is, right? Like, even if you had the world's most uber luxurious, apparently a Lafayette here now too, it don't matter how luxurious your cage is, like your hotel room. Like, even if you had the world's best hotel room, no man would desire to stay in there for the rest of his life. And this X70 place is still here, Spring 70. Yeah, and I think the point of life, the purpose of life, is to be outside, to be mobile. Now I think we're kind of sold this silly fake ass dream in America. It's like, oh, you know, it's buy sing. Ooh, there's a white restaurant here too. Ooh, sounds good. Usually got like, buy this like single family house. Don't buy a condo. It's a kind of a bad, ooh, chill house. It's a bad compromise. Actually, talking about compromises, so how do I say this? It's all or nothing, right? So for example, the reason why family restaurants are never any good is that they try to appeal to both the parents and the kids, and it ends up pleasing neither, right? And also, I wonder with movies too, right? It's either like it has to be 100% for kids or 100% for adults, not these like tween movies which don't make nobody happy, right? And I almost wonder too if it's like for personalities, people, things, etc., right? Like all or nothing, right? So for example, if you really want a sports hypercar, maybe it's a good idea getting a two-door coupe, or you know, a two-seater, right? Something like that, right? Rather than trying to get one of these like compromise, like 4-door, like you can have your sports car and you can put your kid in it. It don't really make nobody happy. Same thing, it's kind of like with books and stuff like that, right? Too is the interesting insight is like either make it 100% for a popular audience, or 100% for the uber scholarly depth, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty important. I mean, I'm still figuring it out, right? But my general sense is, yeah, like if you try to kind of compromise and make it like super watered down, it's not going to be very good. And so also with philosophy and thoughts, right? It's like make it 100% super deep philosophical rather than this like fake ass, you know, half compromise, right? And so yeah, and I feel like with things, tools, devices, etc. So I had this insight a long time ago about the iPhone, right? So the reason why the iPhone makes a poor camera, I mean, like obviously it's like I personally love the democratizations of the iPhone, right? Like now anybody has access to making great photos, and I think that's a good thing. But I suppose my nuance is like the iPhone Pro, it don't know what it wants to be. It's like, are you a phone? Are you a mobile messaging device? Are you a FaceTime device? Are you a, oh look at this, they even put this Steam icon here. Like, are you supposed to be a camera? Like, no, you gotta, and then so I think this ethos of being specialized, being a specialized device is a good idea, right? So even like the idea of a quote-unquote standalone digital camera. So currently have the Lumix S9, which is pretty good. Right? Which way am I going? Hai Bajung, yeah, Hai Bajung. The street is good. And yeah, I think it is generally a good idea is that if you want to switch up your mind, your mindset, switch up your environment, your location, etc., right? And location is the most critical thing. Yeah, Dung Hai Bajung. Oh, the Hai too. Bajung, the Bajung sisters, the two sisters who fought the quote-unquote evil mainland Chinese to get their freedoms, right? And yeah, and I think that's a good idea. Yeah, Vietnamese people love Christmas too. Check out the Novotels. Yeah, and so I think that when it comes to choosing a hotel, and this GS25, this Korean place is open 24/7, right? And so the general idea is, yeah, like when you're choosing a location to live or, you know, hotel stay, right? Just choose the best location. So it's better to have a worser star, like a quote-unquote worse place in a better location rather than having an uber luxury nice place super outside the city center. Like we made that that quote-unquote mistake last time, is that choosing to stay in a super big nice apartment but like way in the outskirts. You don't want to be in the outskirts. Like I always joke to people, is like people who from New York, right? It's like you don't want to live in Long Island. Nobody wants to live in Long Island. People, I met somebody who just moved to LA. I'm like telling why Culver City is the best. He's like, how about Glendale or Pasadena? I'm like, Glendale and Pasadena is like Long Island. Nobody wants to be in Long Island, right? And so my thought is, typically it's a sense of quote-unquote miswanting. The general idea of miswanting is you think it'll make you super happy, right? But in reality it won't. So I think a lot of things which are sold to us are predicated on the promise of happiness, but whether it actually manifests joy or not is a different matter. And you know, like I'm 36 now, born in 88, and it's crazy. I'm like, damn, I've been in the game. Like I started my YouTube channels when I was 21. I'm like 15 years in the game. I'm not 15 years in the game, right? It's like don't it's like, don't hate me because I got so much more longevity than you, right? And so therefore, as a consequence, yeah, aim for longevity. You got to be in the game 15 years straight. Another 15, be like Dr. Dre, Dr. Easy OG from the other side, right? And yeah, like some thoughts about Saigon. Yeah, okay, so the reason why I love Saigon and being here in Vietnam is that, like, okay, so several things. First, economic leverage. So if you're in the States, right, working internationally, or Bitcoin investor or whatever, right? Crypto, whatever you do is, right? So The obvious strategy is to make US dollars stateside, and then you live or you habitate or chill internationally, having some sort of economic leverage. So yeah, like currently the Vietnamese dong is around 25,000 Vietnamese dong to the US dollar. It used to be 22,000 Vietnamese dong to the US dollar. So I mean, it depends on how you do the math, right? But obviously if you get more Vietnamese dong for your US dollar, that's a good thing. But then again, I've also noticed that this time around things here also cost more Vietnamese dong. So, you know, like, I guess both is being increased. But anyways, good time to come to Vietnam. Your dollars will still go pretty far. And yeah, like, don't diversify in the second best. So thoughts about Hanoi versus Saigon. So obviously both are super awesome, but you know, Saigon is, ooh, check out this bus. Saigon is obviously number one. It's like everyone in the north comes to Saigon for the south for greater economic opportunity. So if you want maximum economic opportunity, this is where you come, right? It's kind of similar to, I think, people who go to so in Seoul, South Korea, right? You go to Gangnam, right? If you want maximum opportunities. Similarly speaking, if you're in Japan, right? Obviously you want maximum economic opportunities. You also go to Tokyo, right? And yeah, like even apparently Metaplanet.jp, the new Japanese Bitcoin treasury company, right? They're like by far the number one most, what, 2,600% or something ridiculous like that. 2,600%, 26,000%, I don't even know, right? Big numbers. By far the best performing company in all of Japan, which is a big deal, especially since Japan is like kind of economically tanking. I forget also one of the thoughts is like, what is the thought of a prosperous nation? So it actually might have been Fernandino Galliani and his treatise della Moneta. Highly recommended. Much more fun to read than the dry Austrian economics. I don't really like. I'm like reading some of Mises and Rothbard's. Like, it's too dry and boring. I'm gonna get off of it. I need to read something a little more interesting. And also my thought too is, in terms of business and entrepreneurship and economics, it's probably better or more interesting to read an economic theories from real life successful entrepreneurs rather than like economists who's just been tenured professors the whole life, because they still don't, they talk about entrepreneurs and I'm like, bro, unless you have actually ever offered your services, I mean, living off your sole proprietorship, yeah, don't you know, don't get at me, because I think the critical issue here is that most people who have just received a salary for their whole lives and have actually never been a quote real entrepreneur. So what is a real entrepreneur? A real entrepreneur is essentially, ooh, banh mi only 5,000, 5K for a banh mi. That's pretty good. So that's like, okay, it's like 25 cents for a banh mi. Yeah, pretty cool. Ooh, wash min fee. Pretty good. Banh Min Cafe, Roman Coffee Civilization. Ooh, Trung Nguyen Legend. Oh yeah. Tôi tên là Trung, tại vì thích cafe Trung Nguyen. Và Eric tự học tiếng Việt tại vì ở Việt Nam một năm rồi. You know, Eric criminal speak Vietnamese, right? Oh, also some thoughts about physiological thriving. So, oh yeah, I want to drink the cafe. Success, right? Don't drink the coffee loser, right? I'm like, you know, one random entrepreneur idea I have is like creating like a Bitcoin blend or a Bitcoin coffee, right? Just like Vietnamese fine robust and just stamp a big Bitcoin icon and open source. Oh, also kind of a random cool thing. Went to this like cool like vegetarian restaurant yoga studio complex thing, right? saw a wall full of black and white photos like on Ricardo Bristol. Oh, that's cool to do. I actually saw one of my dark skies over Tokyo pictures up there. I'm like, yeah, open source is a good idea. So anyways, so some thoughts. Talking about why I believe in certain things, etc. So one of the general ideas is that I believe in open source. I think it's an ethos, it's an ethical thing, it's something I've always believed in my whole life. And I don't know, I think in the long term open source shall win. Like you think about Linux, Ubuntu and stuff like that, right? Like it's still alive and kicking pretty good, right? And all the closed source protocols seem to be floundering, right? And I almost feel like even Apple, it's like, is it getting too big to fail at this point or something like that? It's kind of also, I have this thought that, oh no, obviously Apple will still be around forever, right? But certainly if you're in the developing world, like better to get a $50 Android device than to you know, get an expensive Apple alternative. Albeit though, you could probably get a used iPhone, iOS device for pretty cheap nowadays. But still, I think in the long term, open source will win. So what are the ultimate sources of open source? So it's like ideas, things, etc. And the only reason people are anti-open source is that, like, it's kind of like the ultimate competitive advantage. So for example, even when I open sourced all my photos, made full resolution online for free, like everyone was so angry because like ain't nobody ever done that, right? And yeah, it's like a huge disruption. Like even if I think about it, I look back at myself and think about all the innovation that I've done, I'm like, I've done a pretty good job. I'm pretty happy, right? But anyways, moving forward, this is the next rebirth of Eric Kim, and never stop rebirthing yourself.